the Russians are likely to want to fabricate a pretext for an invasion. One option is the Russian government, we think, is planning to stage a fake attack by Ukrainian military or intelligence forces against Russian sovereign territory or against Russian-speaking people to therefore justify their action.
So this is an interesting twist now on the situation with Russia and Ukraine. That's the Pentagon press secretary accusing Moscow of dirty tricks, saying that Russia plans to use this fake video of a Ukrainian attack on Russians to justify an invasion. That sounds like Reichstag, early 1930s Germany. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby back with us today. Sir, good morning to you, and thank you for coming back here with Dana and me in our program. When will we see the evidence of that claim?
Well, I'll tell you what, we know there's a lot of curiosity about that. We understand that, and I don't need to tell Dana, who stood at a podium and knows this well, that we don't like talking about intelligence, and if and when we decide to do that, it's pretty carefully measured and pretty carefully calibrated to make sure that we're sending the right message here. We want to make sure that Russia knows we know what they're doing. On the other hand, you got to be careful when you talk about intel that you don't reveal how you know it. And so, look, if there's a way we can provide a little bit more granularity on this, we'll do that. But we got to be very careful.
Just to drill down on that, I'm looking at your soundbite from yesterday. You said the Russians are likely to want to fabricate a pretext for an invasion. Do you have physical evidence of that fabrication that you're talking about?
Well, I don't know that there's been a video produced yet, Bill, if that's what you mean, but we certainly have intelligence that indicates that this is something they're thinking about doing. I don't know that they've actually created it yet, but we know that they're thinking about doing it. And that's just one of other things that we know they're trying to do to create a pretext for an invasion. They have been long in the public sphere calling out Ukraine as the aggressor, calling out the West for arming Ukraine, telling people that their national security is threatened when they're the ones with over 100,000 troops on the other side of that border. And it's a group that keeps mounting every day. So, look, we just want to make it clear that we know what they're up to. And you know who else knows that this intelligence is accurate? The Russians know. They know it.
And I know one of the things that everyone has been concerned about are deep fake videos at some point, possibly, like on all sorts of fronts, right? And I always worry that I don't want to be the first journalist to ever air one, right? So we are super careful, and that's why the questions today. The other thing I wanted to ask about is Putin's decision to really ramp up things in Ukraine and that pressure. And it seems to me that comes right after Afghanistan and our withdrawal from there. Is there a connection there that Putin made a calculation, seeing how we left in Afghanistan and his thinking about how the U.S. might respond this time?
If there's a direct correlation between the two things, Dana, I don't think we've seen that. So I'd be careful going that far in terms of his calculations. I mean, this is the man who invaded Ukraine back in 2014 and invaded Georgia back in 2008. I mean, he's made no secret about the fact that he's bristling at a strong and vibrant NATO, and he bristles at the sovereign independence and the democratically elected government in Ukraine. So I don't know that there's a connection there. But again, we're focused on the situation at hand, which is this potential for a future invasion of Ukraine and trying to find a diplomatic way out of this.
A few more minutes here. Let's shift to ISIS. It appears to be a significant blow based on special forces in Syria this past week. Yeah. Based on the reporting, we have about 900 U.S. service members on the ground in Syria. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, depending on how much information we get from the Pentagon. Are we going back into eastern Syria and western Iraq to take down another caliphate soon?
If you mean by going back in, you mean in a larger footprint than we have right now. And Bill, you're right, the number is about 900. No, I don't think that's going to happen, but we are still focused with those less than 1,000 troops in Syria, working with the Syrian Democratic Forces to continue to go after ISIS. That has been a continuing mission, and it needs to be continuing because, as we've seen, they are trying to reconstitute. They're trying to grow their strength back again. We have indications that they would love nothing more than to attack Western targets, including our homeland. So we're going to stay focused on this.
Admiral, yesterday there was a State Department briefing where the ISIS raid was brought up, and the AP reporter Matt Lee, who's been there for many different presidents, and he's always got some tough questions. He asked the spokesman, Ned Price, about all of this and the intelligence. Watch here.
It is intelligence information that we have declassified.
Well, where is it? Where's the declassified information?
I just delivered it.
No, you made a series of allegations and statements.
Would you like us to print out the topper? Because you will see a transcript of this briefing that you can print out for yourself.
That's not evidence, Ned. That's you saying it. That's not evidence. I'm sorry.
We declassify information only when we're confident in that information.
Ned, you haven't
If
made
you doubt,
any
the credibility of the U.S. government, of the British government.
And it went on from there. Why so defensive?
So first of all, I know both men very well. Ned's a good friend, and I stood at that podium across from Matt Lee. They're both gentlemen. They're both dogged in their jobs, and I have great respect for both of them. But look, as I said earlier when we were talking, I mean, deciding to talk about intelligence matters is a tricky business. I mean, you in some cases, like in this, we think it's valuable for people to know and for the Russians to know that we know what they're up to. On the other hand, you don't want to reveal how you know it. So, look, if there's a way to get more context out there about this, I think we'll try to do that. Can't promise it, but it's a tricky balance we're trying to strike. We felt that there was more value in making it clear to the Russians and the world, quite frankly, that we knew what they were up to, the dirty tricks that they were capable of, rather than just declassifying what is in fact highly sensitive intelligence.
I have 30 seconds left. A quick question,
Yes, sir.
important question.
Yes, sir.
Marco Rubio says this is the most serious threat since 1945 and talks about an invasion as a near certainty, I should say. The Ukrainians aren't talking that way. Neither are European leaders. So why the disconnect?
Well, I can't speak for Ukrainian leaders, Bill. I mean, they certainly have
but
their
these
own.
U.S. senators, they were briefed on Ukraine yesterday, so what were they told?
Well, it was a classified briefing, but I would agree with Senator Rubio's take. This is potentially a very significant conflict that we could be looking at on the European continent. I don't think the senator was exaggerating in the slightest, and we've been nothing but transparent, not only with people on the Hill, but of course the Ukrainians and other allies and partners in Europe about what we're seeing, and we're getting their perspectives. The Ukrainians obviously have, equities of their own and things that they need to do for their domestic populace and talk to, and I understand that. We do understand that, but we are sharing information with them, and I think that they see things very much the same way we do.
Sir, thank you for coming in
Good to
today.
see you.
We'll talk
Thank you.
again very soon. Thank you.
You bet.